This is great.
You have seen him for years in his kitchen. Now see him on the farm, the fish farm.
Okay.
Jacque Pepin and American caviar. That's up next on Chef's Afield.
So I'll drink to you happy cooking.
Jacque Pepin, the celebrated chef, began life as a child of a poor French family. As poor as the family was, Pepin's mother worked hard, pedaled a bicycle for miles to barter for eggs and vegetables to put on the table. In love with food and its preparation and showing the world how it's done, he is Jacque Pepin, a Frenchman who has demonstrated the art of cuisine to a generation of Americans.
Considering that I live in Connecticut, you can recognize my Yankee drawl, if you're Connecticut Yankee. I have been here for over 40 years and I don't try actually to cook French. And by the same token, I don't try not to cook French. I don't really think in those terms anymore. I'm here to cook and make them happy.
Sally Eason's family looked up at North Carolina's Mount Pisgah 3 generations ago and saw clear, pure water flowing. Her grandparents could and did take a drink from the fast-running crystalline water. They have farmed trout ever since and now have one of the nation's premier caviar operations, Sunburst Farms. For hundreds of years, chefs and gourmands all over the world have insisted that there's only one truly superior caviar, that from the sturgeon of the Black and Caspian Seas. For generations, beluga caviar has sat alone at the top. Today, severe poaching, overfishing, and pollution have almost completely eliminated this majestic sturgeon. But a half a world away, the trout are plentiful in these rushing North Carolina waters. And as this taste moves to the fore on the tables of better restaurants, the pressure on the sturgeon may be eased. The Cherokee thrived here. When they looked at these mountains, they called them Shakanakwe, meaning place of blue smoke. So why is Jacque Pepin in the Great Smoky Mountains? Because he and other great chefs are now paying attention to where food comes from, how pure it is, and whether it's harvested in a sustainable manner.
You know, when I go trout fishing upstate New York, I am in those rivers, there is a lot of current and beautiful water, you know, so what do you do to duplicate that in a farm like this?
That is so important, maybe the single most important thing that we could do. And the water comes from the Pisgah National Forest, which is above us, and it dumps into a lake and over the dam's quite high, it's behind the trees there, and then into our water system here. So we get pure virgin water right out of the mountains, and we're the first to get it. There's no aquaculture above us, no industry, no farming, nothing.
So this is certainly the most important thing. What happened to the water after it comes through? There is still some current here.
Yes, there is. It's a graduated system from here to the next system to down below. There's a drop, and every time it drops, it creates more oxygen, and that's so important
good in the water.
for the fish.
And then the water eventually goes back into the river, clean?
Yes, as clean as we can possibly make it.
What do you do with the faces, I mean, with the waste of the fish?
We clean the raceways, for starters, and then we compost all of our refuse, all the guts and so forth that's left over at the end of the day. And it goes in the compost pit over there, which we sell to local farmers and
no kidding,
nurseries.
Yeah, that's great. That's terrific.
Try not to
so it's a closing system and very efficient.
We try to use everything and recycle well.
And nothing is polluted. How many trout do you have here?
300,000 or 400,000 pounds.
Oh my God, 1,000 pounds, yeah. So those are rainbow trout. I mean, most of them.
The rainbow trout, sibling of the brown and steelhead, first cousin to the salmon. Aggressive, respected, admired by fishermen.
Where you are, what you eat. So I would like to know what you're feeding your trout. I think it's very important.
That's a great point. This is a specially made blend, made for us. It's called the Sunburst Blend, actually.
What is it made of?
It's very high protein and high fat as well, the good fat, and it's made from fish meal.
Oh, yes?
And soy. And the most important thing is there are no hormones, no antibiotics, and no animal byproducts.
Oh boy, they like that.
Yeah, they're hungry.
Wow, look at that thing. Can I
Those are the
throw
really
some
big
here? I
ones.
like to
Oh,
see
yeah.
them jump like this. Yeah, the water is quite clear, right? So here, those trout are like a year old, basically.
In this raceway, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's great. That the right size, you know. So that's terrific.
That's a great eating size.
And how do you know when the trout have the caviar in it?
We have our females in certain ponds. We know where they are. And the fish is going to have to be at least 2 years old before it's sexually mature, at least in rainbow trout. And you know when they're going to spawn according to when they were hatched. So we actually buy our females according to different hatches. And that way we can have caviar almost year round.
So what will we see next?
I think we're going to get in the water and catch some fish.
Oh boy.
Let's go fishing.
I get a wiggle into that.
When you don those big waders, you want to make certain the water does not go inside them.
Okay.
They're
Ready?
ready to go. I mean, if we fall, the water still go here, right?
Let's hope not.
No time for pole, line, bait. Work it easy.
We're going to use this crowder screen and just push on it.
This is
gently.
great. I mean, that bit going with a line
Exactly.
and a worm at the end, and
We
the
need-
whole stuck there.
We need to keep it at a little bit of an angle. It's just easier
that's
that
right.
way.
Yeah, that's right. Look at that. So I can see them. They're getting crowded there.
Yeah.
It also doesn't traumatize the trout too much.
Right. Well, that's
You know,
a really
it's-
important part.
It's pretty gentle, yes,
Yeah.
of the system.
There are many ways to do it, but we try to be as humane as possible and create the least amount of trauma to the tissue.
Well, that's what people don't realize, you know, when you do, whether you do veal or whatever you raise, you have to be gentle with the animal. Otherwise, even in your own benefit, otherwise you deteriorate the meat or the quality of the product anyway.
Exactly.
So how do you choose to pick those up? I mean, a certain weight and all that, you know?
And, yes, and we want females today because we want to look and see if there's some eggs in there so we can make some caviar.
So those female are older then?
Yes.
They are what, 2 years old?
These are probably 2.5.
You pull the end over there.
Yep. Okay, is that good? All right, we have them plenty crowded.
Wow, they hold there.
Let's scoop up a handful, see how they look.
So that's now you do it. Good boy. Yeah, let me grab one
Yeah, go ahead.
so I can see. Boy, they're slippery, huh? Boy, those are big, huh?
There you go.
So this is a female and beautiful. Okay. See the rainbow, right, with the line
Yes.
here and the beautiful rainbow. So that's it. Well, I tell you, it was a terrific lesson.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. You were a great student.
Well, what are we going to do next?
Let's go inside and fillet some fish.
That's a good idea. I want to
Okay.
see that caviar and all that.
All
you know?
right.
Looks good on the line, looks good on the tray.
Wow, look at
Have
those.
it move
Huh?
around.
We got those here. Look at that. And we put them on ice, right?
Uh-huh.
Looking for the caviar.
One thing you can count on when you're bringing in females, you're probably going to net 2% of the weight of the females in eggs. That's
2%. Wow, I heard that in the beluga caviar, you know, it can go up to 2,500 pounds on a large beluga, and sometimes it's up to 10% is caviar, you know.
yeah.
But as you know, the Caspian Sea, you know, has been very polluted, and most of the beluga, sevruga, etc. have disappeared.
Right.
But I mean, fortunately, we have good alternative in America now, right?
Absolutely. There's so many wonderful
I mean, there is
American caviars now. There are 5 or 6 that really hold their own. They're sustainable.
Because-
We've done it for about 14 or 15 years.
You've done it for that long?
Yes, but in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, it has really taken off since American caviar has become such an excellent alternative.
Oh, this
There
one
we
got
go.
the caviar. Look at that.
There we go.
Yes, those are eggs. Trout caviar from the mountains of North Carolina.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is wash these eggs because these are directly out of the female.
Yes.
And this entire process is done by hand. There's none of this that's mechanized. I don't know why you would want to anyway. But it's done the old way that was done in the Caspian originally.
Right.
And we've adopted that technique, and it seems to work well.
But those are beautiful. So the next step is,
Now we're ready to put them on the table.
oh great. The
that,
skin
yeah.
is kind of on top here.
Uh-huh.
So you would want to put the open part on the thing,
Precisely.
right? So you would put that part here.
Uh-huh.
That's right, and just
That's it.
open it like that. That's fun. I mean, you have to be trout farming. This is an extension of trout farming, but you can't do that just by itself. You have to have the trout. And you
Of
have
course,
to
I mean, think
get
of
it
all
to
the trout
business.
you would waste, and that is one of the big problems with the sturgeon, because they were, you know, traditionally pulling the sturgeon out of the Volga and cutting them open, pulling these huge sacks of roe. They could be 900-pound sacks, and just leaving the carcass, because that was enough money for that farmer to live on for the whole year. So he didn't need to worry about what to do with that fish.
So this, we spread this out a little bit. Yeah, beautiful color too, you know.
It is pretty.
And now you let that drain for what, 10 minutes about?
10, maybe 15.
So we have what, about 6 pounds of caviar
Right.
there? Right, this
Just
is
about.
great. Then we prepare the salt.
We're ready
There's
for-
about a third of a cup of salt here, and like a good tablespoon of sugar, right?
Precisely.
Yeah, and you put sugar, take some of the harshness out of the
Exactly.
salt. Right?
Takes the edge off the saltness.
Okay.
So should we taste it and see
Yeah,
how it is?
absolutely,
You always
yeah.
have to taste it.
That is delicious. Can I have some more?
Yes. You might need to taste it again, Jacques. I'm not sure if it's good. One more taste.
You have to taste on each side, right?
Yes, all the way through.
Oh, it's very good. Good stuff. The grain pops in your mouth just at the right texture, because sometimes it can be like a pellet, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes it can be really mushy. So this is just the right texture.
Thank
and
you.
So the texture, the taste, nuttiness of it, and the amount of salt is very important. It's
Yeah,
just
it
slightly
really is.
salted, but delicious. So I think we can do a lot with this. We're doing a couple of dishes today, and the first one is a trout, which I'm going to poach with some white wine, some mushroom, salt, pepper, very simply, and then we'll do a sauce with the reduction of the white wine and mushroom and horseradish, and of course some trout caviar, which come right from the belly of those fish. I'm going to put that into usually a non-reacting pan like this, because I'm going to put some wine in it and so forth, so stainless steel pan is relatively important for that. And then we want to put some shallot on top of it. So I want to cut it fairly thin, you know. It's not that important, but you want to have it cut in nice pieces like this. So here I have my shallots. I'm going to put in there. I'll put maybe a little dash of olive oil in there. And then mushroom. Now I have fresh mushroom here. When you're ready to use them, you wash them. It's a question of doing it only when you are ready to use it, not before, because they get wet, as I say, and discolor. Here I'm going to cut them, kind of chop them coarsely like this, you know. I mean, you can slice them if you want. Doesn't really matter that much for that. Okay, I have my mushroom here. I have my salt here, all around. And of course, I want some white wine in there. First, I should taste it, you know, because you never know. Maybe it's spoiled. Nice Sauvignon Blanc, so this one is pretty zesty, you know. Very flavorful, so about 1 tablespoon, right? Or maybe a bit more. Like a cup of white wine, you know, something like that you need. And then we put the lid on top of it. I have salt, pepper, the shallot, my mushroom. This will cook. It will depend, of course, on the size of your trout, but those are basically a pound. That will take a good like 8 minutes, 8-9 minutes, slightly pink to the center bone, you know. But what I want to do next is a dish with potato. You know, you pack them together to do a kind of tart, and we're going to put the caviar on top of this. You can slice your potato directly on top of this. So here, for that, we need about 4 cups of potato. There is a lot of starch in it, and I could wash it, and at that time, it doesn't stick together as much. Or I can remove a little bit of the starch just by pressing, as you can see here, if I do this.
I have a non-stick pan, and non-stick pan is pretty important for that because I put some olive oil and I should put a little bit of butter in this. I use unsalted butter. Okay, we put that in there. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there, some pepper, and that's all. Now, what I want to do, however, at the beginning, after the salt, is to saute that a little bit to mix it so that it gets the taste of the butter, not only underneath, but all over, you know. And when I feel that everyone has a nice taste, then I leave it as such to do like a flat type of thing, you know. And I can cook that on high temperature. You know what I need to put in there? Is my trout. Look how beautiful they are here cooking. When they get that bluish hue on top of it, it indicates great freshness. And I can check it out here to see how much is cooked. And you know what? Maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, that's going to be cooked. This one here, I want to see that it's loose like this, you know. Continue cooking it. Occasionally press on it with something flat like I'm doing here to gather it together. And this is why it's important at the beginning, as I said, to stir it with the butter and the oil so you have the taste inside, otherwise it will only be seasoned on the outside. But as I can see here in a non-stick pan, it's a breeze. It's going to be very easy to flip it over. I'm going to flip it here. See, it started getting slightly dark on top here. So I'm going to lower that. The food will come out much better when you're in a good mood. And even more so, you have to be in a good mood when you eat, but otherwise it won't work, you know. You see that piece of butter here? You can scrape it like this if you want to do. That we do a decoration here. If you want to serve butter on your table, you do that. You do a second one that you do tighter than this. It's like the coral of the flowers to put in the center of it, you know. And then you can put that in water and ice, then it becomes very hard, and you can grab it whenever you need it. Okay, now let's see whether this is cooked. I think that this is cooked. What we're going to do is to remove it. Beautiful trout. And as you'll see here, you know, you'll take the skin out of there here, and the skin will just come out very easily. Just scrape out of it. Now, just under the skin, as you can see here, there is another color. Here, the flesh has a darker color here. I like to remove this also. You see the way it slides off? Which is darker that I'm removing here, the same thing in salmon, is actually fat. You know, the fat which is just under the skin to protect the animal from the cold. But the fat tends to be a bit stronger in taste, so it's a question of taste. You see in the center you have that line here. I put my knife and I push this out. It should slide off the bone. And as you can see here, it just barely slides off the bone because you'll see that the center is still slightly red, you know. And it's fine for that, but you see here, I'm sliding this here. This is the belly part of it, and of course it's smaller. And I have the central bone. You have the rib cage here underneath, you know. But on top of that rib cage right here, you have those bones which stick out. And that's the bone usually when you do a fillet, which you cut off and they are into the trout. So what we do here, I'm putting that back where it was, and that back where it was to kind of reform the trout, which is now totally boneless, you know. This, of course, as I said, is a relatively large trout, so that would be served for 2 people, you know. So we have a platter, which is ready. We're doing that for 4. So this, I would put it here. Up, I turn it upside down. And I would taste it. It's good. Always taste along the way. When you cook, when I cook with Julia, we keep tasting and tasting, especially the wine, actually, but the food also. It's important because people forget to taste, and cooking is a building up things. You know, you do A and B and you get this. Okay, the second trout here, which I have. And then I put that back on the stove to boil it, to finish the sauce with that. This is the reduction. As you can see, basically it's white wine and shallots in there. Now let me see what this one is here. See, that's a bit nicer. Now if you don't think that you have the courage to go and try to whip it out, you can always take something flat which fit on top of your thing and then turn it, and then from there slide it in back into it, you know. But it should be relatively easy with the non-stick pan like this. Now here is my reduction there. So we're going to finish that up with sour cream. Another taste that I want to put in there is horseradish. You can grate your own or get the just freshly grated horseradish like that, yeah, and that gives you makes it a bit Russian tasting, you know. Anyways, now again I'll taste it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe a little more pepper. Very straightforward recipe. In that beautiful cream sauce, I wanted to put some of the caviar, you know, some of the trout caviar, because not only it will give you a great taste, but at the same time also a beautiful color on top of it. Fresh chives, or chopped parsley, or chervil, or tarragon, or any type of herb that you have in your garden and that you love, that will be perfectly fine with that. You know, like this. And then on this one here, we have our second dish here, which again I see now is quite cooked. Okay, I think that side looks better than the other, so I'm going to use that side. And then we have that beautiful trout caviar here. Okay, we're going to be very, very generous here. So we're going to spread that around. You cut wedge of this, of course. In the middle of this, we're going to put the sour cream. Think of sour cream, the sour cream goes well with it. And maybe a bit of chives, you know, all over, like that. Chives is from the onion family also, so that will work well. Maybe a little sprig of parsley of chive if you have them here, just to finish it up. Et voila, and then you cut that into little wedge, you know, and serve that at the first course. I mean, certainly probably not in the same menu because we're using the same ingredient. So here we are, the trout, and then the potato pancake with the trout caviar. Et voila. I appreciate all farmers and all people like Sally who grow things out of the earth and do something, because too much has been said about the chef and not enough about the farmer or the people who grow the food or do it for us. We would be nothing, you know, without people like this. You know, that trout, I can fake it up to a point to make it look good, but unless it's good to start with, it will never be great, you know.